So, I am just done with my keynote for Ohio SHRM 2019.
It hit Columbus, Ohio.
Saying that in Columbus, Ohio, the great Columbus, and we had like, I'm going to call it 1,000.
There's 1,000.
Numbers
987. 13 away. That's 1,000.
Yeah,
you round
on.
up.
That's 1,000.
9.87 is 10.
And I know there were people coming in and out, so we're going with 1,000.
Listen, sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 personalities show up, so I can count as 2 or 3 people
okay.
like that.
So that's good to know. So
yeah.
I was really excited about meeting this guy. We've already posted something, but Greg is one of the best speakers I've ever seen. I told my wife this. I was watching video of you last week. I'm like, man, this guy's really good.
Thank you.
But we also happen to speak on very similar subjects, right?
Yes.
Company of owners, company culture, the importance. You come at it from a different angle.
I do. It's going to be very complimentary. I'm going to take some of the things you said today. I'll insert them into things I say.
Okay.
Yeah, it really works well.
So talk about what you experience out there, because you're speaking to a lot of different groups, a lot of different companies. What's your perspective on company culture? What is it? What do you think makes for a great culture? What do you think makes for a not so great culture?
You know, there are so many varieties. You know, even as you speak about it, the first name, last name, and kind of the identity. What I have found about culture, like you have, is it doesn't just eat strategy for breakfast. It really gives people the place to either bring their best self or where they feel themselves restricted. And so it really is this fluid environment of opportunity to show up fully, or it creates an environment where there's a lot of shrinkage, a lot of pullback. And so it's an enabler. The culture is an enabler of people's best or worst.
Okay, so when you are walking around out there just doing business, not even the speaking stuff and working with companies, but when you walk into a business, I think I can feel it.
Absolutely.
I can feel it's palpable, right?
Yes.
It's like you can feel the energy. Well, yeah, it's good. You know, no matter how big or how small the company. And then other ones you walk in, it's like, oh, geez. We had that person on the way out of Dallas who was doing us a big favor to get us checked in on the plane. And I'm like, what?
Really? How hard is
this?
Like
she hated her life, hated her job.
Yeah. And I hate that for people.
Well, and of course we hate it for them. It's terrible. For the company, it takes its toll, because people, if someone is rude to you in the airport, you say, what a rude person. If a flight attendant or someone that's got the name badge on is rude, then you go, what a rude airline, right?
Yeah.
But it's partly on that person, because we got to create our own energy. But some of that is just, if they're going to work where it's just a beat down every day, bureaucracy, so much friction, broken equipment, all that has an impact as well, doesn't
it? Absolutely. The quality that people get to work in, an environment that lets folks have access to doing their own job well. Sometimes the frustration with flight attendants or the people who are stewarding and taking care of people on planes is the mechanics that are out of their control. And for us, it's the one experience, our only flight we have today. For them, it's like, this is the 4th time this week that I've been on a plane, it's been delayed, and it's put me to these people who are angry, frustrated.
And then that's what they're dealing with.
And then they live in that. So it's not even the human interaction. Culture is also affected by an organization's commitment to excellence and the quality of their materials, products, the services they provide internally of what they have. So when people aren't updating, when people let things go forever without being refreshed, that has a impedance on the culture itself too.
So I think 99% of people, I've made up number, okay?
If you got to make up a number, make it almost 100%.
I have a Ph.D., so I get to make up numbers, right?
You're a subject matter expert on numbers, percentages.
I think 99, or a majority of people want to do a great job. They want to go to work, be fulfilled, have a great time.
Yes.
And yet, so often that's just not occurring. Why is that?
There's I would say several things. One, their belief that they have that opportunity and access to bring more than what they currently are bringing. So I think people believe most of their leaders, managers, supervisors want them living in the contained description of their job. At some of the previous innovative companies and our current ones, they go, hey, we're going to make 20% of your job where you can do anything you want. Explore your own passions. 3M has the great, history of all that kind of thing. Google does some of the similar, where it's like people go, oh, I can produce in this job and use a skill I have, and yet also some of these passions these things. And so when I do owners, I talk about owners having that ownership spirit is heart, head, and hands. So they have to have a skill, so they bring this skill. Everybody, renters, I talk owners, renters, vandals. So we talk, so that, I know you want to jump in, but that idea of that not only they're now doing their skill, they get to do things they're passionate about and they'll use their creative imaginations about that helps people stay connected in what they're doing.
Heart, head, and hands.
Mhm.
Okay, and yes, I want to jump in. You know why? Because I've got a whole thing getting ready to potentially come out on that. We need to write that together. It's actually in my book, Whiteboard, a little drawing
Okay.
of it. But I agree, it is about heart, head, and hands,
Yeah.
right? That those
Yeah.
three operating and working
And
together.
most people, like Gallup, like you said, 50% of people that are disengaged, they're still doing their job.
Yes.
They've disconnected their imagination, they've disconnected a level of care, but they still show up and do a job because
Yeah.
it's 50%. It's every other person in the American workforce. How can every other person in the American workforce, 1 out of 2, be disengaged and our economy still blow up and go strong? It's because they can do the job, they just don't do it with the level of passion, care, concern that takes them to a place.
Okay, I'm going to big time you
Yep.
right now because I got to stop.
Just gotta
Don't
sign.
stop it.
Don't
Just keep
stop
it
rolling.
rolling.
Man's gotta
Come
sign
on
a
up
book.
here. We'll edit it. Big announcement.
All right, you heard it here first.
Tell them about the book you're writing.
Son.
I am not going to let up, Greg.
I know.
You
I've got
too much to
I've
say,
got two
dude.
things happening.
Yeah, if you want to
So-
co-write it, if that makes it easier, or you just write it. But
yeah.
come on, brother.
Yeah, there's good
The
things.
world needs at least
People say that.
12 or 14
Let me just say
books.
this. I've been building a speaking business,
Right.
and that in itself has been a thing. And just this year, we've reached some of the goals that we've had. Where it's like, okay, if I want to be an author, the way I'm wired, the effort and energy and focus. But I do have some things happening, so I feel good about that.
Okay, you know what's going to happen
Yes, sir.
from experience?
Uh-huh.
You're going to finally put a book out.
And then I'd be like, dang it, why
It's
did
gonna
we
be
do
like
this
that.
10 years ago?
You're going to 10x
Yeah.
your speaker deal because
Yeah.
that's been my experience.
Yeah.
When people read your ideas, then they want to come and have you. But
Yeah.
at any rate, I'm
I
sorry.
don't know if you
I'm
know
gonna
this.
keep giving you grief on that.
I love that woman right there. Do you
Hey,
know Julie Doyle?
I do. Julie, come on in here. Julie.
Julie, we're hot, live on the camera. Come talking to my microphone, girl.
Yeah, we're talking about,
culture.
company culture. Now, first of all,
yeah.
announce yourself.
I'm Julie Doyle.
And you are the
I am the Ohio SHRM director-elect.
Director-elect.
Yeah.
You're like president, past
Director-elect.
president. She's been
you're president
she's
last year.
deeply embedded.
I was the conference chair in 2018, which was all about culture.
Yeah.
Okay, and I
Hey, look,
love.
and owners, like
I
I'm bringing my
know.
ownership message
I
Friday. We're gonna be
know.
like,
I know.
You
I
know
thought
what,
of you when I.
We're all starting to. I think what has passed for work for so long has been really
would agree.
abysmal for a lot of companies, right? And we're reaching that tipping point, I believe. I love SHRM. Did you hear me? I'm a member.
I'm
now a
I'm
member of
so
SHRM,
happy.
so I'm excited about that. And now I got to go back and join the state and the local, chapters.
Find your local chapter.
oh,
Okay.
listen, he knows Bruce Waller.
I love Bruce Waller.
If you know Bruce Waller,
I
you're
do.
connected in the SHRM
Yes.
world in
Bruce,
Texas.
Bruce, fantastic. So,
Yeah.
but here's the thing, because y'all were talking about the importance of the local membership.
Mhm.
There's a proverb that says, "Better a neighbor close by than," and I'll paraphrase, "but a family member far away."
Yes.
And that's what goes on with the local chapters and
Yes.
everything from SHRM, right? Because that's where you get that one-on-one. It's great to go to the big conference, to go to the big conference,
Right.
but getting together on a monthly basis. So I'm really inspired by that model and the way y'all have done a masterful job of really spreading the love and making sure you got a lot of touch points.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
why is SHRM talking about company culture so much? What sparked that?
Well, I agree with what you said when you were on the stage. I mean, it is the game changer. I mean, it is what is going to differentiate you and how you're going to be able to engage and retain your workforce. If you want to win in the game, you're going to have to concentrate on culture, man. I mean,
Boom.
You do. I mean, I have a saying, you got to cultivate the culture you want.
Yes.
Because in a vacuum, you will have a culture. I say that all the time. So, and I believe that, and that's why I practice HR in the companies I lead and in the companies that I work with. And I believe that so much. I want to give back to the HR profession. That's why I do all this volunteering with SHRM. And you're right.
You're passionate about
I
it.
am very, but I also have the action, as as we heard today. I do take the action because I give my time. But to the state chapters, the local chapters, I was the president of a mega chapter in Cincinnati, and so
Mega
we-
chapter.
yeah.
Mega
Mega
chapter.
chapter.
I'm sorry, that's a term about the size within SHRM.
Sure.
So, but what is
Size
so
matters.
important is that you have that local connection and you can build your network of other HR professionals. That's how we're going to continue to change this. Is to have folks like you talking the talk and walking the walk, and then us connecting on a local level to really build those connections with others. So many HR people that feel alone, and they're not
Yes.
alone. We're all facing the same things, and we can make an impact in the organization.
You should care more, Julie.
I
No,
should.
so a couple of things as I was talking about earlier, 85% of people hate their jobs.
Yes.
If people go to work, they're miserable.
Yes.
How do they come home? They're miserable. Who do they take it out on?
Their family.
Their loved ones.
Yeah.
Who do they take it out on? The community.
Yes.
It impacts
It does.
the world. What if 85% of people loved their jobs? And there's no reason we shouldn't be able to get there because companies have been successful at doing that.
Yeah.
But in y'all's experiences, for both of you,
Mm-hmm.
how many executives, if you were to ask them this question, what is numero uno, the most important part of your job, would say company culture out of 100 executives, do you
I
think?
think more of them are saying it.
It's
You know,
starting to,
surprisingly
right?
What
more
I
are.
find is they don't actually know how to make that happen
Yeah.
in their
Right.
organization.
Right.
And
they understand the
honestly,
importance, but then they get a little lost.
Daren made a bold statement on the stage about HR kind of being nurturers or carriers of, and without the leadership creating that empowerment for that, it really
It's an
is.
uphill battle.
They're unable to
They're not gonna be
impact.
effective.
They're unable to
They will not
without
be
the leadership.
It has to
Yeah.
come from the top.
And I think more and more that message is getting across. National SHRM's doing a good job at positioning, really being an asset to help local SHRM HR professionals be positioned as business partners. But listen, they've been banging on that door a long time.
It's time. It's really time. I was talking about reach that tipping point
Mhm.
where we start to see some big progress made with it. I think it is a global crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's on that level.
Hmm.
But I mentioned this even in my talk, forgot, but $7 trillion are lost across the globe every year because of low employee engagement. So we're going to change it. The three of us together.
Let's do it.
So thanks for having me. It means a lot to me.
Thanks
And
for being here.
thanks for not making me go after
Love that
this
guy.
guy. Let me,
Love that guy.
I'm so glad he's
You're too kind.
he's coming after me, not the other way around, because I would not want to follow this guy. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Julie. Thanks for jumping in here.
Yeah, so
Spontaneously.
spontaneous. Julie's always good for it.
All right, closing
All right.
closing thoughts.
Shoot, are we closing already?
Yeah,
It's so
closing
sad.
thoughts,
I know,
man.
we got to get on with life here. Closing thoughts.
You're looking at an executive, and you've got one thing to say to them about the importance of why they need to be focused on company culture.
I would say this. I would say more than one thing because I can't just say one thing. One thing would be I have enough CEOs and executive leaders with real life current happenings in their world to validate how critical culture is to reaching next levels for business, period. So I don't have just data, research, real people doing real life, real business, from nonprofits to medium-sized businesses to major corporations who currently are living out the benefit of being very intentional about culture. Second thing I would say plays off that, culture is constantly intentional. It will not happen without your leadership and your willingness to empower voices in every area of your organization at an equal level of influence in discovering and declaring the values you live by, and then as they shape that, empowering them to shape that in a way that then impacts the rest of the world, your current world, your organization. It's so future telling on the willingness to invite and involve all different levels, org chart levels, divisions, department levels, about a leader, C-suite leader's commitment to it being realized.
I love it. Okay, and I am confused about one thing you said.
Okay.
Do you have data or data? I'm just kidding. So
Data.
you don't know this,
Data, yes.
but
There's a lot of things I don't
you
know.
You are such a culture champion. You're a culture champion.
Yes, sir.
And I just decreed this right now.
Uh-oh.
I'm making you an honorary member of the Global Company Culture Association.
What?
A charter member, honorary member. That's
member.
a double
I'm
honorary member, charter member. So
I want a document that says that. I want to put it on my wall. Has that.
we will see if we can
That's
make
so
that
fun.
happen. So thanks for coming on, Greg.
Thank
Very,
you. My
very,
pleasure. Thank you.
spontaneous.
Appreciate
Happy
you
to have you.
being willing to listen and consider. So important.
We're going to change the world.
Amen.